Ever since Vanity Fair put out their article on the Rings of Power, people have been really upset with the choices Amazon's made. They're spending $1 billion on a series that completely disregards its source material. They're changing around the timelines of Tolkien's work. They don't even have the full rights to the Second Age, so they've got to avoid using specific characters and storylines. They didn't follow what Tolkien wrote about specific races and even characters, but in that article, they talked about how the team was consulting a Tolkien scholar, and tweets this person's made, even recently, are being called out for completely twisting Tolkien's meanings and attacking people who dislike the choices Amazon's writers are making with the Rings of Power. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So I wanted to quickly show off the section of the Vanity Fair article where they talk about this Tolkien scholar. It says Amazon series will also broaden the notion of who shares the world of Middle-earth. One original storyline centers on a Sylvan elf, played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, who will be the first person of color to play an elf on screen in a Tolkien project. He is involved in a forbidden relationship with a human village healer, and elsewhere, a Brit of Jamaican descent, Sir Lenny Henry, plays a Harfoot elder, and of course another character has a scene-stealing role as a dwarven princess named Disa, the latter being the first black woman to play a dwarf in a Lord of the Rings movie, as well as the first female dwarf. Now, of course, there's a lot of problems in these statements because these are not things that Tolkien wrote. As it says, there's an original storyline centering on a Sylvan elf. That is not something that Tolkien ever wrote. Tolkien never wrote a lot of this story, unfortunately, because they do not have the rights to the Silmarillion and a lot of the Second Age. They have to create their own storylines. They have to create their own characters. And of course, it's not like they're doing that keeping his source material in mind. No, when it comes to the dwarven princess, I've criticized this a lot, but they didn't make her look proper. They didn't make her look like a dwarven woman. They make her look very feminine. She's in a flowy dress and her hair's all done and she's got, you know, very smooth skin, and that's not how dwarven women are supposed to look. They are supposed to look nearly identical to the male dwarf, so they didn't make her look accurate at all whatsoever. It's like they completely disregarded everything Tolkien wrote because they want to push a narrative with this series. They want to make it so, oh, we have the first person of color to play an elf, the first person of color to play a dwarf. I mean, they are going crazy with this series. It says Tolkien is for everyone. His stories about his fictional races doing their best work when they leave the isolation of their own cultures and come together. And yes, this is true. Tolkien is for everyone, and his stories were a lot of the time about people coming together, overcoming challenges, but not in the Second Age, really. If we look at the Silmarillion, it's dark tales. It's not like it's all happiness and rainbows and sunshine. It's death and problems and no one working together, basically. So again, they're throwing out this material. But in this next section, it talks about this scholar. It says, when Amazon released the photos of its multicultural cast, even without character names or plot details, the studio endured a reflexive attack from trolls, the anonymous online kind. Obviously, there was going to be push and backlash, said the Tolkien scholar, Mariana Rios Maldonado. But the question is, from whom? Who are these people that feel so threatened or disgusted by the idea that an elf is Black or Latino or Asian? Now, I've talked about the Rings of Power in a couple of videos now, and I have absolutely no problems with people who are Black, Latino, Asian, none of that. I'm not some raging racist over here. My problem is that these original characters do not fit in to Tolkien's world. They do not fit into the source material. It's not like they tried to make characters that actually made sense and kind of followed the lore. No, they just completely went off the walls and created whatever they felt like so that they could push a narrative with this series. This is something that Hollywood does. They add a bunch of characters with diverse actors, and then if the show fails, they say, oh, it's because of the ists and the phobes and these type of terrible people. No, it's not that we hate these people. Obviously, I mean, there are Black people, Latino people, Asian people criticizing the show. It's simply because it doesn't fit into the source material. It is literally as simple as that. But of course, this Tolkien scholar cannot take criticism on social media. She currently has her Twitter account protected, so you can't see anything that she's saying behind the wall. But there are a lot of screenshots of things that she said over the past few months, even tweets where she has completely disregarded Tolkien's work. Now, here is one of the many tweets that she's made. It's only from February 11th. It says, "It's okay, we're in this together, and I would not change a single word of that article for the world. Thank you for giving us a platform. You're doing the Lord's work. Racists can complain all they want. Ismael Cruz will still be an elf, and he looks damn fine as one." Of course, instantly saying, oh, if people do not like the fact that there is a black elf in the show, even though it doesn't follow the source material, you're instantly an ist, which is absolutely disgusting. Here is another tweet that she had made. She had said, "Respecting my idea of Tolkien, which may also be a racist, fascist, white supremacist idea. Have y'all talked to the man to know what he thinks about your respect? Have you talked to the man about how he would feel that you are completely disregarding all of the work that he made?" No, of course not, because she said you'd need a Ouija board. She is being so disrespectful to people who love his work, to people who are simply disagreeing with the decisions Amazon's making and the criticisms that we're putting forward. Now, just because my opinions, whether they're about Tolkien's work or politics, are different, doesn't mean I instantly want them off a project. But when they get to make decisions that do impact the content we get, I'm going to criticize them. Criticism is different than attacking someone. I'm not sitting here calling for them to be canceled or fired off of the project, but I think some of the statements they've made are absurd. They even tried to make a tweet about Gollum, saying, "Hobbit musing of the day. In The Hobbit, Gollum is described as dark as darkness. What is this supposed to mean?" And yes, I am wondering here about the limits between the metaphorical and the racial. I don't think that they've ever actually read his work, because as you can see in another series of tweets that was made, his skin was white, no doubt with a pallor increased by dwelling long in the dark and later by hunger. Clearly, Gollum's skin is supposed to be white. He is supposed to be as pale as snow, basically. And they're going on about how maybe it's metaphorical, but maybe it's racial. This is the Tolkien scholar for the Rings of Power show. This is who they chose to make potential decisions, or at least to influence the people that are writing this series. This is absolutely ridiculous. If they were a real Tolkien scholar and actually cared about his work, they wouldn't want it changed. Amazon and these writers are disrespecting his legacy and his work by changing this much around. And a real Tolkien lover would never be okay with that at all whatsoever. I might not have a fancy made-up title at some university. I might not be a Hollywood writer, but I respect his work more than these fake fucks do. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.